So again, if you're keeping track, we're going to start section 2.2. And we're talking about adding and subtracting integers. Specifically right now, we'll just work on adding, because subtraction, we're going to do one little thing and make it a lot easier for us. Here's what some of the problems that we're going to be doing look like. These are adding integers, so we're going to be adding positive and negative numbers together. So we'll be doing stuff like this. -3 plus 4. We'll do stuff like that. We'll practice that. And we'll do things like -8 plus -7. And we'll do things like 13 plus -2. Notice how we have pretty much every case here. We have a negative plus a positive. We have two negatives. We have a positive plus a negative. We've already covered positive plus positive. That was adding whole numbers. That was chapter 1. That was review stuff. This is where we start actually learning how to do really the meat of this course. The stuff where he's rock solid on it to move on. Now, I'm going to teach us with rules. There's really 2 rules for addition. Follow these rules, get it right. Don't follow these rules, chances are you're going to make a mistake. The whole negative, positive thing doesn't quite work with addition and subtraction. It works with multiplication and division, absolutely, but not with addition and subtraction. So what I'm going to teach you are the addition rules. One more time. Does this work for multiplication?
No.
When does this work?
Addition.
Just addition. Just addition. We're going to actually change subtraction into addition. And so these rules will work for subtraction, but only when we make it addition. We're going to see that when we get to there, probably on Thursday. So these rules work only for when, everybody?
Addition.
That's right. So only for addition. I know I'm really emphasizing this, but I need to make sure it's in there. I need to make sure I get it in your head. 2 rules. Rule number 1, what you're going to do is you are going to look at the signs of your numbers. We spent some time talking about negatives, positives, and minuses, right? You're going to look at the signs of your numbers. If you are adding 2 numbers with the same sign, what that means is they're either both positive, no problem, we can deal with both positive, or both negative. So same sign, they both positive, they both negative. You're going to add those numbers together, I'm talking absolute value-wise, add those numbers together, and you're going to keep the common sign. So if you're adding a negative and a negative, you're going to get a negative. Are you clear on that? So if you're adding numbers with the same sign, you're going to add them, and you're going to keep the common sign. That's rule number 1. If you're adding 2 numbers with the same sign, you are going to add the 2 numbers together, just the values, add those 2 numbers together and keep the common sign. The common means a shared sign. So if they're both positive, you keep the positive. If they're both negative, you keep the negative. Add the numbers, keep the common sign. Means one more case. Either your signs are going to be the same, or your signs are going to be different. That's the only case, right? You either have the same exact signs, both positive, both negative, or the first is going to be positive, the second is negative, or the first is negative and the second is positive. So either you have the same signs, rule number 1, or the signs are different. If you're adding two numbers with different signs, you're going to subtract the numbers like you normally would, like 9 minus 2 or anything like that. You're going to subtract the numbers, and you're going to keep the sign of the bigger number. That's what tells you whether it's going to be positive or negative. Are you with me on that? So same signs, add them, common sign. If you have different signs, you're going to subtract them and keep the sign of the bigger one. So if the bigger number is, talking bigger absolute value-wise now, if the bigger number is negative, it stays negative. If the bigger number is positive, it remains positive. Okay? That's how you determine that. And don't worry if you're a little confused right now. We're going to practice this a lot. If you're adding two numbers with different signs, you're going to subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the bigger number.
When you're writing the W, is it with or without?
With.
Without would be an O after. So adding, we got that down now. They're the same sign, add them, keep the common sign. If they're different signs, we subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. We'll practice these three and a whole lot more on Wednesday. Ladies and gentlemen, did today make sense for you? How many people feel okay about that? Good, okay. Okay, so we were talking about these addition rules, and so we noticed that if we're going to have two numbers that have the same sign, we're going to add those numbers together and keep the common sign, and if not, if they have different signs, we'll subtract them, like big number minus small number, just typical stuff, and keep the sign of the quote-unquote bigger number. We mean absolute value-wise, the bigger number there. So I think that I gave you these three examples, but we haven't gone over them yet. Let's go back to these ones. Negative 3 plus 4, was that one that I gave you last time? That wasn't one of them?
Yeah.
It was, okay.
Yeah, you gave us those.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and let's do them now and see what we get out of that. And we're going to follow the rules because those rules give us a really good tool to do this addition, subtraction stuff. So let's look at the first example we'll do, the negative 3 plus 4. The first thing I need you to identify is, does it have a plus sign? Yeah. Listen carefully, okay? These two rules, they only work if you have a plus sign. Repeat that for me. These rules only work when you have a
Plus sign.
That's it. If you have a minus sign, do these rules work?
No.
Only plus signs. Multiplication sign? No, just plus sign. That's it. Just with plus. Are you with me on that? That's why they're called the addition rule. It's just for plus. Just if you have addition in between. So the first thing we got to do is look for addition. We have it here. Then you're going to look at the signs of your numbers. This one is a...
Negative.
This one is a...
Positive.
Are the signs... You're going to hear me say this a lot in this class. I'll ask you these questions over and over to make sure you get it. Are the signs the same or different?
Different.
Different. Same sign, we would do this. Are we in this case?
No.
We're in here. It says different signs. You're going to subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the bigger number. So let's do this. Here's how you model this in your head, okay? You look for the plus. I see the plus. The plus clues me in that I will be using addition rule. That's it. I look for the signs of the numbers. If they're the same, I do one thing. If they're different, I do other thing. They're different in this case. Different sign says I'm going to subtract them like you would just subtract any two numbers. So we're going to take the 4 minus 3. What's 4 minus 3?
Negative.
So we have 1. So I know it's going to be 1, right? Somehow it's going to be 1, either positive or negative. That's where we're at so far. So I know we have 1. Now you're going to look for the quote-unquote bigger number. What's bigger, 3 or 4?
4.
Was 4 positive or negative?
Positive.
Then if it's positive, you keep it positive. Right? It's positive then. So our answer here is positive 1. So our whole modeling situation, the whole way you do this, look for the addition sign, we have it. It says you can use these rules. Look for the signs, whether the same or different. Here we have different signs. you subtract, that gives you 1, and you keep the sign of whatever the bigger number is. If the bigger number is positive, your answer is positive. If the bigger number is negative, your answer is negative. Nudge your head if you're with me on that. So here, is our answer positive or negative?
Positive.
Definitely positive. And we're going to put a box around it. Not a whole lot of work you can really show on this, is there? No, that's why you have to follow these rules really careful, because you're not going to be able to go back and follow any steps. You can hear my voice on the lecture, you can watch what we're doing, but it really is all about understanding these rules and being able to apply them. It's not step by step like order of operations was. These are one-step problems. You just have to know those rules. You understand that right now? You can't really follow the steps. You have to understand the concept. Let's go on to the next one. First things first, do we have a plus sign?
Yes.
That means we get to use the rules. Look at our numbers. Are the signs the same or are the signs different?
Same.
Yeah, notice how we have a negative and we have a negative, right? It's the same sign. So same sign, we're not doing what we did last time. Those would be different signs. Look up here to the same sign. The same sign says you're going to add those numbers together. Just add them. So like the 8 and the 7, we're going to add that together. How much do we get?
15.
Okay. And next it says after you add them, you're going to keep the, what's that called?
Negative.
A common sign. What's a common sign?
Negative.
The sign you use the most?
Or in this case, the sign that's shared. Because we're in this situation because we have the same sign twice. Are you with me on that? Same sign. So if we have the same sign, they have to be sharing that sign. We just keep that sign. So we have a negative 7, we have a negative 8. They just have the same sign. Is our answer positive or negative?
Negative.
It's definitely negative. How many people understood these two examples so far? Good. So make sure you have that negative down. That's perfect. Okay, last one that we're going to do over here. We have 13 plus negative 2. I see the plus sign. We need that to use the rules. I'm going to look for the signs of the numbers. Are my signs the same or different, folks?
Different.
Good. One's a positive, one's a negative. Am I going to add or am I going to subtract?
Subtract.
Very good, because we're right here. Right here, different signs, subtract. So you're just going to do the basic subtraction. That's 13 minus 2. How much do you get?
1. 11.
Get 11. And are we going to have positive 11 or negative 11?
Positive.
Explain that. Why?
Because the 13 is bigger than the 2.
Very good. We keep the sign of the bigger number. Put a box around it, and that's it. How many will understand these addition rules, how they apply? Very good. We're going to practice a lot of examples. Most of them I'm going to have you do on your own. I'll lead you through about, I don't know, maybe 4 of these together. They go pretty quick. I'll have you do 4 on your own. I'll make it a little more complicated, and then we'll practice those as well, okay? Sound like a plan? That's our goal for today. I'll show you how evaluation can be incorporated on this, and then we'll go on into subtraction. I'll show you how to change subtraction to addition, and we can pretty much get 2 sections for the price of 1. So that's kind of nice. And I have to get you used to seeing these examples in different contexts too, different ways we can write them, like with parentheses and without. So let's look at the first one up there. We got negative 4 plus negative 9, that's what that says. We see the plus. As soon as you say plus, that means you can use addition rules, all right? If you say plus, that's great. It means addition rule right there. So negative 4 plus negative 9, you all tell me, do I have the same sign or different signs?
Same sign.
Great. Am I going to add or subtract?
Add.
And I'm going to...
13.
I'm going to keep...
Oh, keep the same sign.
So sure, you said 13, that's great, we added them. And is it positive or negative?
Negative.
Beautiful, that's exactly right. Next one, we got 4 plus negative 18. Ladies and gentlemen, same sign or different signs?
Different sign.
Add or subtract?
Subtract.
So we're going to get 14 here. And is it positive or negative?
Negative.
Good, why is it negative?
Because 18 is
18 is the
bigger.
larger.
So you're starting to see a couple things, right? It does not work like multiplication. With multiplication, we're going to get to this later, I know. But with multiplication, 2 negatives makes a positive. Negative and positive make a negative, right? That doesn't happen. Here, 2 negatives make a negative. That's not the same as multiplication. That's completely different. Here, a positive and negative made a negative, but here it made a positive. So it doesn't, you cannot just look at the signs, you actually have to follow these rules. You see that? You can't just say, oh yeah, that's always going to make a negative. It's not always going to do something. You actually have to understand it. You keep the sign of the bigger number if you have different signs. You subtract. Keep the common sign if you have the same sign. You add. That's our rules there. Okay, moving on. We've got -1 plus 26. Of course, there we have our different signs. We got the negative and the positive. That means we'll subtract and get what?
25.
Good. Does it stay positive or change to negative?
It stays there.
Perfect. Yeah, bigger number was positive. Okay, last one we have -14 plus -47. This is the same thing as this one or this one. It just doesn't have those parentheses. So both signs are negative. We're going to add or subtract.
Add.
Keep the common sign. How much do we get if we add?
61.
And this is
Negative.
okay. Very good. Try 4 on your own. Let's see if we can do this individually. And then I'll beef up some of our problems. After a while, you're going to get very good at this, and you're not going to have to even think about those rules. It's just going to happen for you. For right now, you might have to think a little bit and go through those every single time. That's okay for right now. You're getting there. So let's work through these. We'll check them out in just a second. All right, so the first one, I'm going to model how I would think about these things again, just so you kind of hear the process. I'm going to verbalize my thinking here for you. So the first one, again, the first thing we check for is, does it have a plus? Because that tells me you get to use addition rules, and it does. So, okay, check, we got a plus. Next thing I'm looking for is the signs of the numbers. I'm seeing different signs here. I see negative sign, positive sign. That means I've got different signs. That tells me if I have different signs, that means I need to subtract them. So right now I'm doing 13 minus 7, just a typical subtraction problem. So I'm going to get my 6. And then I'm going to look for the bigger number in this case. The bigger number is 13, so that had a positive sign. My answer remains positive. How many people got positive 13? Very good. You know, what now? That's what I meant. I said 13, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
6. How many people got positive 6? Oh, good. Y'all raise your hands when I asked for 13. You realize that?
We knew what you meant.
Oh, okay. Good. Good. That's right. How many people got positive 13? Oh, I did. Oh, no. That's not good. Okay. Next one, again, we have the plus. That's great. I'm looking at the signs. I see my my same signs. The same signs tells me I need to add those numbers together. I'm just going to hang on to that shared sign, that common sign. So here we get the 12 and the 30. That gives me the 42. But since both of them were negative, I'm going to keep that negative. They had the common sign. Next up, we're back to the different signs. It's just in the reverse order. I have the plus saying this is addition rule. I've got my different signs, positive, negative. I'm going to subtract, get 7. It's still going to be positive because my 15 was positive. Did this one give you 0?
No. No.
Why not?
Could do that.
So yeah, they have the same sign. You're going to add those. That actually does give you -4. That's right. 4 because same sign we're adding. We keep the common sign, that's a negative. Does this one give you 0?
Yeah.
Yes, that one does. Different signs you'd subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. What's the sign? It doesn't really matter because you get 0. 0 doesn't have a sign. Does this one give you 0?
Yes.
So the addition rule tells us one kind of nice thing. If you're adding a number plus its opposite, notice how these are opposite numbers, and a number and its opposite, you're going to get 0. No matter which way you do it, a number and its opposite, if you add them together, they have to make 0. That should make sense because you're taking something same units away from 0, but on opposite sides and putting them together. If you take those measurements and find the difference between them, or add the opposite in this case, you're going to get 0 every single time. How many people were, let's see, how many did I give you? 6? 6 out of 6. Good for you, that's excellent. Now the next question is, if we can do that, you can do that problem, right?
Yeah.
Is that problem okay? Just has one more, but if you think about it in terms of order of operations, how do you do order of operations? Well, you do parentheses, right? Now, even though I do have some parentheses up there, do you notice that inside the parentheses I only have single numbers? That says, okay, the parentheses really aren't saying anything. They're not saying do the inside because there's nothing to do. I don't have exponents. I don't have multiplication or division. I do have addition, subtraction. How do we do addition? Why don't you just ignore this for a second. Ignore that one. Do those two. Figure out what it is. And then bring the next one down. You can do them piece by piece. You don't have to do it all at once. In fact, if you try to do it all at once, oftentimes you mess it up because those signs are really hard to get right when you're doing all of them at once. So what we do in this case, and I'll show you how I'll write it on the board. We're going to do this little piece, figure out what that is. So we're ignoring the plus negative 11 at the end. We're just looking at negative 2 plus 4. Negative 2 plus 4, those have different signs?
Yeah.
We're going to add or subtract
Subtract.
and keep the sign of the bigger number. So this is how much?
2.
2. Positive, you mean positive 2, right? And then at the very end, we're going to bring down this plus negative 11. So we haven't really even used that yet. We're just ignoring it for a second. We bring it down. It's basically just 2 problems in one. You do the first little part, bring down the next one. You do that until you're done with the problem. Always we're using the addition rule if we have that plus sign, which is great because it's not that bad as long as you remember how to do it. So the next one we got
Negative 8.
Negative 9.
close, yeah. Negative is right, negative 9. We're going to subtract because we have different signs. So 11 minus 2 gives us 9. The bigger number, 11, was negative. We get negative 9. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 to do on your own. This is about as good as we can do with addition subtraction because I've given you pretty much every case, right? Every type of case with positives and negatives. We have now 3 numbers up here. I'm going to give you 3 and 4 in these examples, see if you can do them. And we'll talk about evaluation and move on to subtraction after that. Work on that one. I'll write 2 more on the right side of the board. By the way, you're going to have a problem like one of these 2 on your first test. Maybe a couple problems like these. So if you want to make a little note to study these before your first test, you're going to have something like that, okay? So be prepared for that. couple more minutes. I want you to work down step by step. Make sure you're really applying that addition rule. That's important for us. Make sure we get this up right. Okay, we're about to get started on the first one. Wrap it up if you haven't really finished it yet. A few more seconds, maybe 20 more seconds. Okay, so what we learned from our examples last time, just like 5 minutes ago, we're going to do these from the left to the right. We're just going to add pieces together. That's it. Treat them like problems within problems. So the first one, we're doing the 6 plus negative 2. Why don't you tell me what you got?
3.
Good, okay. Definitely positive, right? Signs are different. We're subtracting,
4.
keeping this sign of the bigger number.
4.
First part gives you 4, and then we're going to add negative 15. So plus sign again says addition rule. We have different signs. Subtract, sign of the bigger number, final answer.
Negative.
Very good. Show of hands, how many negative 11s do I have out there? Good for you. That's very good. Good job. Okay, next up. Again, we're just tacking on one more number. Does it make it any harder? No, not really. As long as you know those two rules and we have addition, you're fine. Just follow those rules down. So the first two, maybe just a couple extra steps. That's it. First two, I'm looking at that. They have different signs. I'm going to subtract because they have different signs. I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number. That's giving me in my head negative 9. Did you get negative 9?
Yep.
Plus negative 8?
Negative 17.
Cool, yeah. The next two, we've got the same sign. That's adding. Same sign means adding them together. And then we're going to keep the common sign. So negative 17 is right. Lastly, we have negative 17 plus negative 9. Different signs. We're back to subtracting them. We're going to keep the sign of the bigger number. So we're taking 17 minus 9. I'm getting 8 in my head. But is it positive 8 or negative 8?
Negative.
Negative 8. Still negative 8? How many people stick that negative 8? Good, good, good. If you're off by a sign, something's happening in your addition rules. Okay, last one. First two, we've got same sign or different sign?
Different.
Come on, play along.
Different.
Are we going to add or subtract?
Subtract.
And keep?
The large.
Okay.
Positive.
So this is what?
2.
2.
I rewrite the rest.
Plus 14.
So 2 plus 12. Hey, guess what? Even though it's just 2 plus 12, the addition rule will still work. I mean, we can do 2 plus 12. We've done that for a long, long time. That'll be 14. But look, it still works. Same sign, right? Positive, positive. Add them together. That's 14. Keep the common sign, positive. It still works. Same rule. It's just you've never been taught that rule before until you get to negatives. .14 plus negative 14. We just had that one.
0.
Yeah, these are opposite numbers and you're adding them. We're going to get 0. Any 3 out of 3? Good for you. That's awesome. Good job. Now, we can also evaluate. I put that word up on the board here. Do you remember what evaluate means to do? I said evaluate's always going to mean this. You have to know, because when it's on your test, I want you to know it.
Go through the problem or something like that. You don't really solve it.
True, we can't solve it because we don't have an equal sign. All we can do is plug numbers into it and manipulate it down to a single value. That's really what we're doing with evaluation. So evaluation, I'm going to give you some variables. I'm going to tell you what those variables are equal to. Evaluation means you're going to plug in or substitute those numbers and then work it down, manipulate it until you get a single value. You with me on that? So when you see evaluation, don't get confused. That's what it means to do. Okay, we're going to evaluate x plus 3y for x equals -7 and y equals +2. What's the first thing that I need you to do if you're going to evaluate? Good, yeah, I heard someone say substitute and someone say plug in. That's the same thing. So you're going to substitute, just make sure you have it correct sign for sign. You can't miss any signs. So what we're going to do here on this problem, it says x plus 3y, x is -7, so we put that down. The plus stays the same, the 3 stays the same, the y becomes a 2.
2.
And then what's it mean, 3y?
In parentheses.
You could do it that way. That's one option. Give me another option.
Or square.
Not square, we can't square, there's no
Okay.
exponent. But what's the
6.
3y mean to do?
6.
Good, so I could write it in parentheses, which means multiplication, or with that dot, which means multiplication. That's an option for you, it doesn't have to be either way, okay? They work the same. And now what? Multiply first? Exactly. But why?
Because that's order
Hey, back to order, it's never going to leave us. It will always come back to order operations. So before we accomplish this one, we're going to leave our -7, we'll do our +6, and then, hey, we got a plus, that means addition rule. We've got,
2 different signs.
good, so we're going to,
Subtract.
Subtract.
great, what's our answer?
1, -1.
-1.
Fantastic. Give these two a try, then we're done with our section, we'll go on to subtraction. If you can do addition, I can teach you two things, and you can do subtraction, because it's going to be about the same. By the way, as you're doing these, I want you to remember that there are sections in your book about how to use your basic calculator. If you're struggling with using calculator, this will show you how to do it, even with the integers, the negatives and the positives. So check that section out. It's right before your homework. Just take a look at that. So I'm hoping the first thing you did is just plug it in. Just plug it in and leave it. You're not trying to do the math all in your head. That's really when you deal with integers. If you try to do it all in your head, that's where mistakes happen. It's not following the rules. The rules are right. The rules are going to give you the right thing. It's not following the order of operations. That's going to give you the right thing. Usually it's trying to do too much or forgetting one of the rules. That's really where mistakes happen. So here we're going to plug this in first. The 2 stays the same. This does mean multiplied by 4. Of course, we have the plus. You see, we're going to write everything identically except to the variable part. Now, the variable says y, and y says -7, so I have to have that negative there. Now, what we can do, instead of writing like that, because that can get very confusing. You have a plus and a minus or a negative. What is that thing right there? In order to remedy that, what can I do?
Parentheses.
Yeah. I could do that, right?
Yeah.
That's going to group it and say that is a negative. It goes with the 7. You with me on that?
Yeah.
Now addition rule works just fine. We've got, well, multiplication first. 8 plus -7, we can do addition rule. That's different signs. Subtract. Sign of the bigger number gives us
1.
That's our answer. That's exactly right. Okay, next up, x becomes our -12. We just talked about this other case. We have this plus, and we'll do some parentheses and put -8. Did you do that also? Good. Now, because it groups that negative with that 8, we want that. We have the same sign. We are going to do what?
Add.
And keep the
20.
common sign. 20?
-20.
Which one?
Yeah, negative.
Negative, okay. Since we're dealing with both positive and negative numbers now, it's important to convey that information. If it's negative, we got to be saying negative. If it's positive, then we say positive, not just 20. Because even though we're used to that, we know the value of it, it could go either way. Okay, we want to make sure we're saying either, just a lot of you said like 4, or here you said 1, that's great. Just make sure we know we're saying that positive 1. That positive 1's important, that way no one gets confused and puts negative. You with me on this one? How many people understood this section? We're okay with that? Good. So addition rules are sticking in your head? I hope so. They're going to get in there. I mean, they gotta be. The next section I told you we were going to talk about is about subtracting integers. We just did the addition. We're going to look at the subtraction and find out that if we do this one little thing, we can change any subtraction problem into an addition problem. Now, can you understand why we might want to do that? Why might we want to change subtraction problems into addition problems?
Make it easier,
How?
because you already know the rules of addition.
That's exactly right. So, unless you want to learn 2 different, you want to learn 2 different rues?
No.
Because I don't want to teach you 2 different rules. You want to keep the same rules?
Sure.
Nod your head, yeah. Same rules. Same rules?
Yeah.
Of course. We don't want to learn rules after rules, right? We don't want to have 2 different rules when one will do. So what we do with subtraction, we change it to addition. That lets us use the addition rules. That's the idea. Because we don't want to have to learn addition rules, and then subtraction rules, and then multiplication rules, and then division rules. That sucks. You don't want to do that. You want to learn addition rules and multiplication rules, and that's it.